Good afternoon, everyone. It's just past 1 o'clock. I'd like to call the 12th meeting of the Planning Environment Committee to order. Please check the city website for additional meeting detail information. The City of London is situated on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Attawandaron. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous people who call this territory home. The City of London is currently home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit today. As representatives of the people of the City of London, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. The City of London is committed to making every effort to provide alternate formats and communication supports for meetings upon request. To make a request specific to this meeting, please contact pactpec@london.ca or 519-661-2489, extension 2425. I'll look for any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to consent items. I will be pulling
a month early. I just very much want to just take a short opportunity to thank a few folks that contribute to this. Firstly, our planning and development team have been exceptional to be able to get us to this point. Building services has really been focused on trying to get those permits out on a very timely basis, and also our municipal housing development team as far as getting those affordable units approved as well. So really want to thank them for this achievement. And of course, anything like this, it's very much a corporate, a lot of the corporate areas provided a lot of assistance and support, especially with it creating some of that new infrastructure to allow for this housing to happen. And also would like just to thank the London development and home building communities. They're the ones that are building these homes, and they're the ones with making these significant investments in London, which is very important and is essential to be able to reach this target. And finally, very much want to thank this committee and City Council for showing leadership in housing supply in London. I think it's been able to be very successful, and been able to show that with these targets. So as of Monday, we reached a level of 11,966 housing units, and that's surpassing our goal, or the target for the Housing Accelerator, which was 11,803, so we've now surpassed it. And the funding that was related to this was London received an allotment of $81.4 million, and that last quarter of the payment, which is approximately $21 million, is contingent on meeting these targets, so very important for us to be able to get that last component of the funding. So just again, this is a very important milestone, but our work continues. We continue to work to continuously improve our systems, maintain this legacy of the Housing Accelerator, and to ensure that we're building exciting, exceptional, and connected communities for the City of London. So very much thanks for the opportunity to mention this today, and back to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mathers. Yeah, so the tremendous work by your team, I think was recognized early on when I believe, were the first community in Canada to receive Housing Accelerator Fund money, 81 million, this being the last installment, 21 million. And I remember back in the spring, and we looked at the numbers that we had to achieve because it was a little slower start at the beginning of the year. So kudos to your team for getting those permits, because this particular one is measured by permits. So it's either foundations or permits. This is permits to actually achieve this number. And we talk a lot about the planning department and getting zoning done, applications done in 90 days, which tremendous work on that. But this is a chance to give a shout out to the great work done by the team processing building permits. Fantastic hustle to achieve this target. And a shout out to the building community, because I know they were aware of the money that the city would receive, and there was some hustling done on their side to get projects up and running, because at the end of the day, we're all pushing to get housing out faster so people have roofs over their head. So from the chair, great work. Thank you very much. So I'll go to committee members and visiting councillors right now for any comments on our consent items. Councillor Pribyl.
Thank you, and through the chair to the staff. By the way, congrats and thank you to the entire team. If I go to the Appendix A, sorry, I'm going 2.2 Building Services Report. And if I can have a reasoning, if I look at the construction value per unit, if I look at a single properties, we have a decrease there about 40,000, and last year was vice versa. If I go duplexes, triplexes, we actually have an increase of 50,000 this year. So both kind of increases and both going opposite ways. And I was just wondering what would be the reasoning behind it, if you can please let me know.
I'll go to staff.
Thank you, and through the chair. The movement appears to be mainly driven based on the mix and the scale of the overall sizes. Well, what this symbolizes to me is there's a chance that the single families that are coming in are slightly smaller than they were in years past. However, that duplexes, triplexes, and quads also includes our apartment buildings. And I think we know based off of the previous conversation here and our half numbers, our apartment buildings have been firing on all cylinders.
Councillor?
Okay, thank you for that. And one last question. So all inspections within the provincial guidelines, timelines?
I'll go to staff.
Thank you, and through the chair again. Our inspection team have continued their wonderful work and are still meeting all of the provincial timelines.
Councillor?
Great, thank you once again.
I'll look for other comments or questions from committee. Seeing none, we have a motion moved and seconded, and we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, our first scheduled item is 3.1. This is a delegation from the Chair of the Community Advisory Committee on Planning, Mr. Metralier. Please go ahead, you have 5 minutes.
Hello, thank you, members of PEC and Council, as always, for giving me an opportunity to speak to our report. I wanted to speak to you today about an item in our report you may have seen, which is about a recommendation respecting potential financial incentives or supports for owners of heritage properties in the City of London. And I wanted to give you some context of the discussion we had and where that recommendation came from. As you all know, we've been looking at some recommendations for Part 4 heritage designations. There's going to be more coming up. And through that process, we've had an opportunity to speak to property owners who've come to committee. Some of them have raised some concerns about the cost of owning heritage properties, things like insurance, repairs, and we as a committee think those concerns are legitimate. We've certainly listened to those property owners, and we felt as a committee it was a good idea for the city to start looking at ways that the city could recognize the public benefit of preservation and kind of also recognize the cost and expense that comes to the individual property owners as a result of that preservation. And so there is a recommendation in there, somewhat open-ended, to ask council to ask staff to look into some options. And I did appreciate Councillor Lewis and Councillor Hopkins, it seems, for picking up that item and putting forward some potential action items. If I can offer just my personal perspective, if there's going to be a debate about specific versus general, my feeling, and again, this is just my personal view, is that this problem seems to be most acute really with the Part 4 designations. I've always seen a bit of a distinction between the many districts we have in London, where in that case, if you're a property owner in a heritage district, you've got some obligations, but you've also got the benefit of living in a beautiful heritage district. You know, if you upkeep your property, your neighbors are going to be upkeeping their property. The costs are in a way shared, and the benefit is also shared. The issue that we've encountered with the Part 4 designations is really that while there is a big public benefit to a designation in a lot of these cases, the costs are borne almost entirely on the individual. So they're incurring that cost for a public benefit, and they're not quite getting as much out of it as someone, say, in a district would. So if there's a prioritization, or what I would say is kind of the most acute thing we're thinking about, especially in the context of thinking about new Part 4 designations, I would say that the Part 4, relief for Part 4 owners really is a focus, at least from my perspective. But that, of course, is something for council to discuss and debate. In either way, I appreciate, again, Councillor Lewis and Councillor Hopkins for bringing that up. So thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'll go to committee, and I'm going to go to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I'm prepared to move the committee's report, but Part 5B would be amended. That language was circulated through the added agenda as well as to members of the committee, and that motion 5.2B would be amended to read that Civic Administration be requested to report back to a future PEC with recommendations for implementation of a heritage property tax relief program, including associated budget impacts for Part 4 designated heritage properties, noting the program would need to be considered as part of the 2027 to 2031 strategic plan and 2028 to 2031 multi-year budget process.
Okay, I ask the clerk if she has that wording. Okay, the clerk has a question.
Through the chair, there was another request out of the committee. So if you want to check in eScribe, because you're not just moving the request for the incentive program, it's also, there's a Part B and then as well Part C to move the remainder of the report. So if I could just get clarification on that.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just give me a second. I'm just reading it through here, what the clerk has in eScribe.
Let's just have a vote in eScribe.
Yeah, so right now we have two votes. We have the vote that would have come out of the committee report, and then the amended piece that I had just read out. I'm happy to move the whole thing with the section. So in the main motion, you have that Civic Administration be requested to explore and report back on the financial incentives for heritage designated properties. That would be the piece that's being replaced. So I'm prepared to move the balance of the report as well. So moving the whole thing with the amended language rather than the original language coming out of the advisory committee.
Okay.
Yes, so we just need a seconder.
Okay, and Councillor Cuddy will second. So that should be up in eScribe right now. And I'll go back to Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. So through you to colleagues and to our staff and to those advisory committee members, happy to investigate how we can bring forward a specific program on Part 4. Like Mr. Metier, I do not believe this should apply to just general heritage conservation districts. I think it should be very specific to Part 4 designations. And I don't want to get into, quite honestly, other things like DC changes and things like that. I've looked around at what other municipalities do. Mr. Metier also provided some examples to me as well. The property tax relief credit that is applicable under the Ontario Municipal Act seems to be what the majority of municipalities who have such a program use. They also have caps on it. Some are at 30% of the property tax, some are at 40% of the property tax. A number have capped dollar amounts as well, so 30% of the property tax or $5,000, whichever is lesser, those sorts of standards. But I'd like staff to really focus in on what the Ontario Municipal Act already allows us to consider through a property tax credit. And that would be something that owners would have to apply for. In most municipalities, they have to enter into a maintenance agreement with the municipality to agree to maintain certain standards on their heritage property. That gives us some leverage to say, well, you haven't met the conditions, so you're not eligible for the credit. So I'm willing to investigate that because certainly we have heard a number of times from property owners the significant change that a Part 4 designation means to them. One owner cited just on a regular residential home, an increase of insurance values of over $3,000 a year because of the way insurers do not want to insure heritage properties, because they know that if something does go wrong, there will be an extra cost to restore the property because of the requirements to restore it to something like its original form. So for that reason, I'm willing to have staff investigate, but I want this tightly scoped around the property tax credit relief and the tools, both the checks and the balances that we would have as a council to say yes or no to those things. Bring it back to PEC. Let the next PEC, because I'm sure this will take a month or two, it won't be something quick, but bring it back to us. Let the PEC committee decide then whether they want to make any changes, and then it can be forwarded to the multi-year budget process, because there will be a budget impact, and we need to know what that is before we go forward.
Thank you. I'll look for other comments or questions from PEC committee members, or go ahead, Councillor Stevenson.
Just following up on that, I just wanted, through you to staff, to confirm that we don't need to make any changes to this to narrow that scope, as the Deputy Mayor just said, because it seems quite open-ended here, and so I just wondered if clarification from committee would be helpful.
I'll go staff.
Thank you. And through the chair, I think the wording as proposed in the amended motion is fairly scoped to just be the tax relief kind of lens. So I don't think any further narrowing is required in order for us to investigate these options.
Councillor.
Perfect, that's all I wanted to hear.
I'll look for other comments or questions. Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. I'm not part of the committee, but I did bring forward my support for the advisory group. Thank you for bringing it forward. I do think it should be broad. This is a report back. So, but if the committee is going to support the amended or the new motion going forward for a Heritage Property Tax Relief Program, I would have preferred seeing options come back to us. But when you look at other municipalities that have this tax relief program, it's always usually associated with a grant program. And it's not as if owners can pick both programs. They would either apply for one or the other. And I just would like to bring this to the committee's attention, that if you were going to look at a tax relief program only, that you would also add a grant program. It will give more opportunities for owners to take advantage of that, of these programs. Like I said, you can't do one or you can't do both. You would either apply as a resident or you would either apply as a commercial or institutional. So I would like to see if the committee would be open to an amendment to add a grant program along with a tax relief program. I do think we need to give owners more opportunities and see what that looks like within the report coming back. I would also like to know a little bit more about the budget implications, because I would assume that only applications, and if they are allowed or approved, would go through a budget process as well. So I'm not exactly sure how that would all work out. And that's why a report back is really important. Within that report back, I would like to understand that process going forward with these programs as well. So if I am able to ask the committee if they would be amendable to adding another program along with the tax relief program that usually other municipalities have associated with the tax relief program. If not, I will be asking council. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll go to the mover to see if Be willing to entertain that request?
Respectfully, Chair, no, I don't. I want to keep this tightly scoped to a property tax credit. I do not feel that it's realistic to start including a grant program, heritage conservation districts, all of those other things with the budget pressures we know we already have. So I want a tightly scoped option to provide some relief. But I don't need 13 options coming back with things telling me, you know, this one's going to be $500,000, this one's going to be $1 million. We've got some great examples in other municipalities where they're capped at $50,000 a year, first come, first serve, $100,000 a year, first come, first serve. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for in the property tax credit program, not a wide and broad scope, which will honestly only take longer for staff to produce, I think. The more different options they have to look at and bring forward, I'd like to get this matter dealt with in a relatively expeditious manner.
Okay, I'll look for other comments or questions from committee or visiting councilors. Councilor Purple.
Thank you, and I actually do have what Deputy Mayor just said, when he said first come, first serve. So if I understand it correctly, if the staff comes back with the first come, first serve amount 50, 100,000, does that mean that if there are 30 heritage properties and if the person is 30th and it goes over 50, they don't get anything?
I'll go staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, that would probably be the types of details that we need to confirm through either this investigation to look at how other municipalities are applying a program like this, or in the program design itself and how that could potentially operate. So we'd have to do a little bit of further digging in order to find those details out.
Councilor.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? We have a motion moved and seconded, and we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, moving on.
To do the motion.
My apologies, a little quick there. We have to now move the motion as amended. I'll look for a mover and seconder on that. Deputy Mayor Lewis, Councillor Cuddy, any discussions on that? We'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, the next item is regarding an official plan amendment to street classifications and the map for activity mobility network, specifically for 1887, 2005, and 2065 Killaley Road. So I will I'll look for a motion to open the PPM. Councillor Stevenson, second by Councillor Cuddy, we'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll look for speakers on this item. I'll ask the clerk if there's anyone online. There's nobody online. I don't see anyone approaching the microphone. So I'll look for a motion to close PPM. Councillor Cuddy, second by Councillor Stevenson, and we'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll put this out. Councillor Cuddy?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move the staff recommendation.
Okay, I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Stevenson. We have a motion moved and second. I'll look for questions or comments. Councillor Cuddy.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. And Killaley is in the heart of Ward 3, so I'd like to speak to it. And this is something that's very close to my heart. Something I've been working on, and you know, I certainly appreciate the work and the effort that staff have put into this, and I'd like to point out the work that Daniel Hall put into this for our active mobility plans. And you know, if anybody questions, if anybody were to question, Chair, the integrity of this council's determination to build an active mobility plan, you only have to look at this plan. Look at what's going on at Kaleli and how we're tying it into the other routes. This is something that's been in a work in progress for years. And the genesis of this, Chair, came from, unfortunately, a tragedy that happened on this road a number of years ago, and where a cyclist was injured. And, you know, I remember going to one of the schools, to Chippewa, explaining to the parents and to the teachers that we were going to improve the cycle paths and the pedestrian walkways on Kaleli. And here we're doing it. And I want to thank everybody who's involved, including Drillo and all the staff, as I mentioned, for dedicating time. I want to thank council for a couple of years ago when we put together this master mobility plan, which included this, by the way. And I think this is just such a strong commitment, Chair, to bringing our master mobility plan full cycle. And Kaleli is a perfect example where we're rebuilding right now. And if you haven't had a chance to get up to Kaleli and see what they're doing, it's under construction, but when it's done, it's going to be a really amazing transit way that connects so many different areas of Ward 3. And I just want to thank everyone who's involved, and I think this is a very exciting project. I look forward to it opening. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for other comments or questions from committee and visiting councilors. Seeing none, we have a motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Moving on. This is regarding 3080 and 3514 Boswick Road, 1875 Warncliffe Road South, and 3341 Wonderland Road South. I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Stevenson, and we will call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, so I'll look to the applicant. I see a gentleman up there. Please, sir, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and visiting councilors. My name is Scott Allen. I'm with MHBC Planning. We are acting on behalf of the applicant, and with me this afternoon are several members of our project team who are available to answer questions. At this time, Mr. Chair, we'd like to briefly express our support for the findings and recommendations of the planning staff report. In particular, we agree with staff conclusion that the recommended official plan and zoning bylaw amendments will facilitate a mix of residential forms that are appropriate and compatible with the local development context and which offer considerable housing supply and housing choice. We also agree with staff's conclusion that the proposed housing options support efficient land use and sustainable growth, and that the overall subdivision design contributes to complete communities. Additionally, Mr. Chair, we wanted to advise the committee that with approval of these applications or amendments and with the subsequent draft plan of subdivision approval, the applicant intends to move forward with the design studies component or phase of project planning expeditiously. And to conclude, we'd like to thank staff for their attention to this rather substantial and complicated application. We're available to answer any questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for any other speakers on this item. Please, sir, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. My name is Matt Campbell. I'm a partner with Zelenka Priamo. I'm here on behalf of Omni Developments. They own the lands at 1891 Warncliffe Road South. That abuts the York development just to the south. And we're highly supportive of York's application. We've been working with York and city staff and trying to figure out some access issues for our client's property. They've been excellent to work with, and we look forward to working together in the future. I just wanted to take this opportunity. My comments are not directly related to the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment. That's before you, but rather more so the subdivision aspect, in particular regard to the access for the future development of 1891 Warncliffe Road South. In particular, we're concerned about the proposed accesses that the city is advising us limiting that site to right-in, right-out only. As the committee may be aware, Bostwick Road is going to be realigned and reconstructed, and that's posing some access constraints to this particular site. What we're looking for is a continued dialogue with city staff to evaluate how we may be able to achieve a full turns access for that property. In the letter we provided, there's a couple of examples of where full turns access may be achievable, and we're looking forward to evaluating those through the future development process. And just to be clear, York is aware of that, and we've been working well with them so far. One thing I'd just like to point out here is Block 37 on York's plan, that's identified as a cul-de-sac. That may be an area that we could consider a full turns access out to Warncliffe Road South. But we're not asking city staff to endorse any particular access arrangement at this time, rather just to evaluate the feasibility and safety of a full turns access that would facilitate access to 1891 Warncliffe Road South through a future traffic analysis. Be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. I'll look for the next speaker. Please, sir, give us your name. You have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of Planning Committee. My name is Casey Kolchicki. I'm a Senior Associate with Lincoln Priamo Limited. I'm here on behalf of Southside Construction Management Limited, who owns several land holdings surrounding the subject lands. Generally, we are supportive of the applications before Planning Committee this afternoon and the continued growth in the southwest quadrant. Our concern stems from the Bradley Avenue extension, which is included within the proposed plan of subdivision. This extension was recently deferred through the GMIS to 2035, and given the existing strain on the traffic infrastructure of the surrounding area, it's Southside's opinion that we should explore avenues to expedite the construction of Bradley Avenue through any means possible ahead of the 2035 timeline. There's been the city has applied to the city's DC reduction program for several road improvements in the surrounding area, and leaving Bradley Avenue out of that application leaves a significant gap in the traffic infrastructure system of this area. We think that, or we request that council request staff to look at ways to expedite the Bradley Avenue extension through additional possible means prior to that 2035 GMIS timeline. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker. I'll ask clerk if there's anyone online.
Miriam, but I believe she's just here to answer questions,
Okay.
so I think we're okay.
Okay, I don't see anyone online, and I don't see anyone approaching the microphones, so I'll look for a motion to close the PPM. Councillor Stevenson, seconded by Councillor Cuddy. We'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we had a couple of items mentioned by speakers. I just want to go to staff for some general comments. Let's start with the concern of the right-in, right-out, Block 37 would, the speaker was just wanting to hear some willingness to maybe keep the door open to, continuing discussions on a feasibility of addressing that. So I just want to go to staff for comment on that.
Thank you, thank you, Chair. Yes, we have met with the applicant a few times on this topic, and we are leaving the door open to future discussions. We said that a fulsome planning application would assist us in better assessing access points, access locations. However, we do maintain that the internal subdivision road network is the most appropriate spot for a full access movement intersection or full access for this site. just due to its proximity to the intersection of Boswick Road and Warncliffe Road South. It's, there's a lot of tight space there, and to ensure the safest intersection operations, we would prefer to have a right-in, right-out at that location.
Thank you. And the other concern was the Bradley Ave expansion plans of 2035. This project is looking at over 5,000 units. And I'm getting an indication that it's not one they're going to sit on. They want to get going on it. So from a staff's point of view, where is that discussion to be held on? Maybe is it now, or is it in a year or two down the road? We see how progressions go. Where do we discuss that timeline?
Thanks again, Chair. So the 2035 timeline was just established by the GMIS updates that went through council last cycle. So it's relatively new. We did see a similar correspondence from the applicant reiterating this message and the preference to expedite Bradley Ave. What's within our control, we are planning to include draft plan conditions that require the dedication of Bradley Ave in an expeditious timeline, so that we can have care and control over when Bradley Ave gets constructed. Further discussion on that is really a part of future DC background updates, bylaw updates, and GMIS discussions.
Okay, so my understanding is these things, we're not missing an opportunity to shut the door on bringing that expansion work sooner rather than keeping to that date. I just want to make sure that we weren't told, well, you should have addressed this when we were talking about this.
Yeah, I'd say quite the opposite. We're opening an opportunity to expedite that with approval of the subdivision.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll go to committee members now for motions, questions, et cetera. Councillor Cuddy.
Chair, I'll move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Stevens seconded. Okay, so I'll look for conversations. Councillor Van Meerbergen.
Thank you, Chair. I have to concur with the view that Bradley has to be expanded sooner rather than later. I mean, you see the vast amount of development going on in the Southwest. It clearly has to be done, and sooner than the better part of 10 years from now. So that has to remain in the queue as being a priority. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'll look for other comments or questions. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. I believe that this is the application that Councillor Hopkins wanted to add a new part to. I've agreed to move that for her, but with your consent, I'll let her speak to her motion, and then you can count me as the mover.
Okay, that sounds good. Councillor Hopkins.
Yes, if I'll speak to the amendment that I'm asking the committee to add to the recommendation. And just like the many applications that have been before the committee with large units, 3,000 unit application, a 4,000 unit application, we're now looking at a 5,000 unit application, a lot of growth in this area. And as we have done in the past, I am asking that the committee add a section requesting civic administration be directed to consider the provisions of enhanced transit service in this area as part of the next future update of the master mobility plan. I think the number of units and population growth in this area explains why we need to look at transit in this area. I would like to make other comments to the recommendation, but if
Sure.
do that after the amendment.
Yeah, why don't we get the amendment on the floor? Deputy Mayor, you're willing to move that, as we'll get the clerk to clerk it up, and I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Stevens and seconds it. So if it's okay, I'll come back to you, Councillor Hopkins. We've got that motion on the floor now.
Yeah, I want to thank the committee for considering it. There's 5,000 units, 9,800 people living in this one subdivision, not counting the other subdivisions that have already approved. And there's a lot of people, a lot of changes going on. And I know it's going to be decades, most likely, before the subdivision is going to be completed. I want to thank the applicant, by the way. I think the Heights is the appropriate place for Heights. Thank you for coming down a little bit as well. But we are going to see Heights in this area, which I do think.
Counselor,
Yeah.
I was willing to let you go a bit, but the clerk has advised me if you could just speak to the amendment, and then we'll come back to you
Thank you.
once we get the amendment on the floor. So on the amendment, I'll look for any conversation, and it's regarding higher orders of transit to be considered. We have that, Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Yeah, I'll just say, this is consistent with a couple of other amendments that have been added to previous applications in this area, so I'm perfectly happy to be consistent with this and support Councillor Hopkins' amendment.
Okay. So any conversation on the amendment? Seeing none, we'll call the vote on the amendment, then we can get to the main motion.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, Councillor, I am now allowed to have you continue.
Thank
with
you
your
for
comments.
allowing me to continue. And again, thank you to the committee. I will just speak on the main motion. I want to thank the applicant. I think adjusting the heights coming down, I know this has been a long process coming forward here. I do appreciate the work, the cut and fill that has been going on. Extensive work has already been done, a lot more to happen, removing the unevaluated wetlands and vegetation patches to allow this development that can happen, maybe through you, Mr. Chair. I just want to confirm with staff that the vegetation patches will be fully relocated in this subdivision. I'm not sure, but I want to just confirm that.
I'll go to staff.
Through the chair, yes, all of the environmental features that are proposed to be modified or moved in this application are being compensated for on site. There's no wetland features or potential wetland features being removed. It's just they're being classified as significant within the corridor in this case. There is one small wetland at the south end that's being moved adjacent to the corridor, but everything's within the subdivision.
Councillor?
Yeah, thank you for that, because there's going to be enough parkland and space and amenity space, which is really important when you look at the population of the subdivision. So wanted to make sure of that. Regarding the requests that were before us from other developers in the area, I want to make sure that as much as my colleague supports the Bradley Avenue extension, that it does go through a GMIS process. And the reason I think that is extremely important, and I would encourage civic administration and staff to continue those conversations. I do not want to see other infrastructure projects like the roundabout at Pack Road in Boswick, like Southdale, be deferred or be pushed back. I think I want to see these projects still continue and go forward, as well as the extension, Bradley Avenue extension. And for that, those are my comments.
Thank you. I'll look for other comments from committee. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the Bradley Road concerns that were mentioned. So through you to staff, was the Bradley Road extension considered as part of the DC reduction projects? And is there, is there anything you can share in terms of why it didn't make it to the list?
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, we don't have anyone from the team that was here in development finance to be able to answer that question, but I can say that part of the decision-making from whenever you move a project for GMIS is that you look at whether there's applications that have been submitted and approved by council to support that infrastructure. So what's great about what we have before you today is that this would be one of those aspects that would be very important to be able to justify the construction of one of those projects. So when we bring forward the next GMIS, there'll be the opportunity to consider that there's a already approved development in the area that's going to be moving forward, and that this road project could support it. So again, I don't have all the details on the DC piece of it, but I think it is very important what you're doing today, and it is going to provide you with that justification in the future.
Councillor?
Thank you. And seeing as the members of the team aren't here, I won't ask my second question, which was, does council have the option to make some changes before that gets finalized? Because we still will get the final approval. I'll do that via email. But I do want to just confirm publicly for those, we had submissions and the comment there that even if we were to do that, this would not be the committee, like it would be done at another committee. So I just want to confirm that it's not that we're not addressing it here, it's that this would not be the proper committee.
So I'll go staff.
Through the chair, absolutely. So the developing the timing and the capital plan, that's for the Infrastructure and Corporate Services Committee to determine. But of course, GMIS would be something that's considered at SPPC as well, that all council will be able to participate in.
Councillor?
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to be sure that those comments were heard and they can be explored in another way.
And just go to you, Mr. Mathers. When is the next GMS scheduled for?
Through the chair. So the GMIS report comes forward in June of every year. So
okay.
We'd be starting to ramp up at the end of this year to be able to start that work and meeting with the community and bringing forward a report in June of next year.
So from your comments, what we're looking at today, assuming that this is, the motion is approved, will impact consideration in the next GMIS. Okay, thank you. I'll look for other firmer comments, questions. Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Oh, sorry. I'll just go to the mover and seconder. Are you good with the motion as amended? Councillor Cuddy and yes, they are. Yep. So then we'll open that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
Chair, I'm just going to let you know, I'll be right back. I left my eye drops upstairs and I'm just going to run and get them.
Okay, thank you. We are now moving on to 3.4. This is regarding 150 to 152 Kent Street. So I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Stevenson. We will call that vote. Excuse me, hold on, please. We'll wait, we'll call on you when it's your turn to speak, okay? Thank you.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you. I'll look for the applicant, who'd like to address the committee. Please, ma'am, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Sandra Condon. I am here on behalf of Strick Baldinelli Munez, representing Fari Holding. As outlined in the planning staff report that you have reviewed, the redevelopment of 150 and 152 King Street involves 2 new buildings to contain a total of 28 stacked townhouse units that will be serviced by a total of 14 parking spaces. Over the last few months, we've worked closely with staff to refine the proposed development and achieve the vision of the site that is being presented before you. The development is located within the Talbot Mixed-Use Specialty Policy Area and is subject to the residential high-density overlay. We feel that the proposed 3-story development is not only compatible with the surrounding land uses, but represents a wise use of available resources within the core of the city and is in line with the policies of the London Plan for this mixed-use special policy area. The proposed development is planned to contain a variety of unit sizes, including 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units, and will contribute to the diversity of housing within the core, and through diversity through both built form and unit type. I'd like to thank staff for working closely with us on this project, and am available for questions if required.
Thank you. So I'll look for the next speaker. Please, ma'am, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Anna Maria Velastro. This is an infill project, but unfortunately, it's a poor quality development. Every building, every development needs to be a home, and that's not what's being offered here. It's being brought in front of this committee because it's too big for the land it sits on. It doesn't provide people with private outdoor space. But for women who have children, who may want to watch over their children while they're in home, spend quality time with their children, they need outdoor space. They need private outdoor space. And this building is here today because it's too fat for the land that it sits on. And it's just becoming frustrating for people in this ward because we have people companies bringing these developments forward. They're faceless. They're insensitive to the neighborhood. This sits right next to 3 heritage buildings. They're completely oblivious to that. There's no quality compared to those buildings that are existing. There's no sensitivity to women and children. It's just cramming people into a lot. And I recognize it's an infill project, which is a positive thing, but it's a poor quality building, insensitive to who's going to live there. There's no outdoor green space. And staff are even recommending less green space than the developers are proposing. Again, there's a lack of sensitivity, and I think this all goes back to the Housing Accelerator Fund, which had a single goal, which squashed people's voices and just develop poor quality buildings that you can see all over the city. So I already said what I was going to say. I understand. Okay, so I'm going to continue because I have 5 minutes.
Okay, well, just hold on a second. I've got a point of order I have to deal with first, and we'll go back to you, okay? Go ahead, Councillor Cuddy.
Chair, with all due respect, I think the speaker has moved away from her original conversation and argument, and now she's discussing poor quality buildings, the fact that it doesn't fit. So I'm not sure that this is relevant to the argument she was trying to make.
Okay, so.
Yeah, so hold on a second, please, ma'am. I do agree when you started moving into speaking about the Housing Accelerator Fund.
Yeah.
Let's just stick with this particular application, okay? Please go ahead.
So my opinion, and the opinion of many, is the reason we have these poor quality buildings is a result of the fund. And now that we reached our goal, we need to look at good quality housing that's good for people that are going to live there, not how many people you can cram into a lot. So this needs to be sent back, and if it doesn't comply with the London Plan, and if it isn't a home, it doesn't work as an actual home for people, including children, the Housing Accelerator Fund is done now. Now we need to focus on good development, and that's not what this is.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker. Please, sir, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Dean Kerb. I'm the agent for the property owner at 142 Kent Street. I don't think we had our notice in time, so I'll just give a personal view. Just to give you a little bit of my history, I'm a lifelong London resident. I grew up in the neighborhood, which is now occupied by Lerner's law firm. I did go to St. Peter's Elementary School, which has just been removed. I think that the development on here, done in the proper way, I think will be beneficial. But next door, as the previous person was speaking, it's a historic building, which my client owns at the present time. Next door to that, there is another historic building that has a major expansion for student housing. So the uses in the neighborhood have changed quite a bit. It's not family-oriented. If the city's looking to a direction for major development, I think then they should also address the historic buildings to say whether they're going to stay or they're going to go or they're going to take that use away from them. So I think that it could be supported or denied by the owners in the neighborhood, but I think there has to be more consultation here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker.
Yeah, aye.
Please, sir, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Craig Deans, I live at 150 Kent Street, and nobody in the building was notified, as the lofty claims of all the residents were notified through a flyer that this was going on, so nobody knew until the sign went up, the sign of death. I agree with everything both people said. It's not proper for the area. My concern is I'm right on the tree line where it says, this would be page 9. Okay, they're going to, the architectural perspective and the applicant has been made aware that there's an expectation to maintain the existing mature trees along the east lot line. Well, expectation and FARI don't mix, okay? The expectations was a lot of things should have been done that company hasn't been done. So I'm quite against it. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't fit in with the neighborhood. There's enough problems. I do believe that the construction would upset everybody for years. So a lot of people in that building, they can only do about 50 feet out to sit outside. You're not going to be able to sit outside in a construction lot. So I know nobody really cares much about that building, but there's some good folks there. They should have been notified. And anything with FARI's name involved with it, I'm sorry. It just never turns out the way it is. These are going to be ugly box pieces. So there you go. I've got a lot of other things to say, but I'm pretty sure they might be libelous. Adios.
Okay, thank you. I'll look for the next speaker. Please, sir, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Mohammed Musa. Respectfully to the neighbors, I don't live in that area, but my curiosity is, why isn't there higher density on this property? You're about 100 meters away from Richmond Street, which is a transit route. Buildings around there are 12 to 14 stories, built between the early 90s and the early 2000s. When across London, your height restriction was 22 stories back in the day, anywhere in London. And you guys just approved 30-story building just down the road. We want density downtown, and a 3-story is being proposed. I'm surprised that we haven't pushed for higher density where we want the density. And if I'm not mistaken now, not 100% certain on, you know, what the zoning is now and what the special area provisions are. But if I'm not mistaken, 16 stories is as of right. I could be wrong. Haven't gone deep enough into it, and staff can correct me if I'm not. So I'll make that a question: is as of right 16 stories? We need the density downtown, and we've been approving the density downtown. Why is this one? And you can't tell an applicant what the applicant must build in terms of density. You can tell them what they can build up to. Why have we not pushed for a higher density on this development or this application? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker. I'll ask the clerk if there's anyone online.
I have the owner representative, but I'm not sure if they're wanting to speak. They didn't raise their hand, so.
Okay, I don't see anyone online. I don't see anyone else approaching the microphones. So I'll look for a motion to close the PPM. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Stevenson, and we will call a vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
So there's one question, what is the as of right zoning allowed at that particular location?
Through the chair, the as of right permitted height is 24 meters, which is approximately 7 stories.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put this on the floor for committee. Councillor Cuddy.
Thank you, Chair. I'll move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Look for a seconder. Councillor Stevens seconded. Any conversation, questions, comments? Councillor Stevenson.
Just wanted to confirm publicly, we've got 0.5 parking, and I know there was a lot of coverage about moving to one-for-one parking. So I just wanted to confirm here that this is based on the previous policy, and that's why we're seeing a half parking spaces.
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, that's correct. The development has been designed to maintain compliance with the current requirement of 0.5 parking spaces. But given the site's location within a core area, with access to both existing and planned transit services, staff are satisfied with the requested parking rate.
Councillor.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? We have a motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to 3.5. This is regarding 725 Notre Dame Drive. I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Stevenson, seconded by Councillor Cuddy. We'll call that vote.
Councillor Hillier. Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll go to the applicant. If the applicant would like to address the committee, please, sir, give us your name. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Julian Noble from Westell Builders. I just want to thank everyone on staff team in getting to this point today. This is an application we made under the HAF funding program to just accelerate housing development, and it was some underutilized land that we had. And we're looking forward to seeing this through. We've had some conversation with councillors about potential further public consultation, and we're open to the direction of the committee with respect to that.
Thank you. I'll look for other speakers. Please, ma'am, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Benita Sankovics with Monteith Brown Planning Consultants, and we have read the planning report and agree and are here for any questions.
Thank you. I'll look for other speakers. Please, ma'am, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Lois Ward. Thank you for the chance to speak with you today regarding the proposed rezoning of mixed commercial and residential use at the corner of Viscount and Notre Dame. I'm a candidate running for the next Ward 10 City Councillor. I saw a heated conversation on a Westmount neighborhood Facebook group at the end of July, and most of the discussion opposed the proposal. I live down the street, so I went to check out the site on July 31st. This is a very busy corner in the heart of Westmount, the plaza forming an informal community center with a variety of family-centric services running from early in the morning to late at night, and with low and modest income housing all around, and 2 schools immediately east of the intersection. I'm very familiar with the many activities at this site from living just blocks away for over 17 years. On July 31st, on my own Facebook page, I posted a discussion with the photos of the proposed site, which attracted 800 views. One concerned neighbor, Dean Vandenbrink, sent me his thorough critique of the proposed rezoning, which he is presenting today. I then went door knocking on Notre Dame, Viscount, and Ensign, August 6th, 7th, and 9th, to better understand the impact of the local neighborhood. What I heard from over 20 residents who came to their doors and wanted long conversations was a general fear for safety due to reduced green verge between building and street, which increases mental and physical health strains by living so close to traffic. No on-site green space allotted for residents, the removal of 15 mature trees replaced by 37 saplings, a wall of brick near the street looking like a fortress that will increase the heat island effect, not enough parking left for the businesses in the plaza, for example, 9 stylists at the hair salon and only 2.8 spaces allotted, and potential customers who will not be able to see that there are businesses there. Big health and safety concerns for the children attending the daycare and Montessori school with proposed parking all around their play area, and increased traffic in a school zone with doubts that the road and intersections will be redesigned for better safety. This proposal does not align with London's Master Mobility Plan and which is approved just 1 year ago, nor boosts overall quality of life that underpins the entirety of the London Plan. Neighbors did say we need more truly affordable housing, but not at the expense of safety and health. Road and pedestrian safety for the most vulnerable is top of mind. There's been a mobility planning gap in Ward 10 for at least 10 years. We need to fix it. We ask 3 things: that the developer do a proper traffic study, that they redesign this proposal to decrease density and add more low-income units, not just replace the 47 being destroyed in the project, and finally, to be included in a site plan approval process. Thank you for listening to our needs. We expect you to address our lived concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker.
Hello.
Please, sir, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Yes, my name is Dean Vandenbrink, and I live on a street adjacent to this project. I want to thank, first of all, council and this committee for the work they've done on homelessness, which has had a direct and somewhat positive effect on my own family. Thank you. I would like to ask you to reconsider this application for 725 Notre Dame Drive. It's a luxury project. I want that to be very clear. This project won't affect vacancy rates in any important way. It's just a little thing up there at the top. It's not going to affect rents in any way. It's not going to bring down rents. It's not going to have any effect on homelessness. So it has none of those benefits. And you know, it's not going to produce much employment, except maybe a few months' employment for a couple dozen people over 1 or 2 years. It has none of those attributes that you can count as benefits. And on the other hand, this project is 20% of what we understand is a much larger project. That London and Middlesex Housing is going to put 3 apartment buildings across the street from this project. And it's going to put perhaps 200 cars in our neighborhood, perhaps 300, perhaps 350 cars in our neighborhood over the next 3 years. And we've heard nothing about plans to actually cope with that, when in fact this neighborhood is already overburdened with traffic congestion and with health concerns. This neighborhood is bounded by 4 5-lane major highways. And as you can see in my voluminous comments to this committee, that is directly related to poor health in seniors, increased incidence of Alzheimer, and certainly asthma in children. Okay, so I will ask you to reconsider, and I would like to bring up one specific point, that in the London plan, it says in paragraph 28 that neighborhoods have to be part of the process. There has to be meaningful participation, and there has to be ownership. It says specifically here, neighborhoods must have a sense of ownership of the plan and participate in its implementation. Well, what that amounted to in this case is this: received by a very select group of neighbors, and in this thing, it says, it gives the impression that we have recourse to the Ontario Land Tribunal. I received this. I received 2 copies. One, I suppose, unaddressed because I occupy a property adjacent to this property, and another because I'm a property owner. It had my name on it along with my partner's. And yet, this paper suggests that coming to this meeting today or submitting remarks to this committee would open up an avenue to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And we all know that that's not true, and we've known it for a long time. So this document contains misinformation. And as such, I offer this up to suggest to you that there has not been any meaningful involvement of the neighborhood in this project. So please consider that. Thank you.
I'll look for the next speaker. Please,
Hi.
ma'am, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Dagmar Stegelman. I live on Ensign too. I think that the plan to put homes in a parking lot is not well thought through. That using Notre Dame Center for infill is short-sighted and possibly negligent. This project exposes contradictions and commitment to the London plan, which might lead to expensive mitigation and community harm. What I'm talking about is bringing in infill increases density and moves neighborhoods toward urban from suburban. London needs to adapt. This means to start to shift from drivable suburban to walkable urban. Urban area density without amenities means more traffic, pollution, and safety issues. Notre Dame Center is the only amenity and retail space within the area of Commissioners to Southdale and Wonderland to Warncliffe. The plaza is an important space for the health and well-being of the community. It is currently underappreciated and underused as an asset for community health and security. Part of the city plan to alter communities with increased density means they need to be involved in helping the Notre Dame Center be a point of balance and relief of problems caused by their infill. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker.
So I'm.
Just a second
Oh.
until I recognize you. Ms. Velasco, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
My name is Anna Maria Velastro. I'm speaking on this because this is exactly the same infill project that's happening on Kent Street. It's housing in a parking lot. They're not homes. There's no place for families to be together in this housing development. They're removing a very large boulevard that can act as an open space so they can cram people into a parking lot. Again, this is just a headache, a leftover of what developers have been doing for the last few years under the Housing Accelerator Fund. This has to be rejected so that we can move forward and build housing that's for people, that's for children, and that the community can support. That's not what's happening here. It's literally housing in a parking lot. And it's bad development, and that needs to be rejected by this committee and hopefully by council.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker. I'll ask the clerk if there's anyone online. Derek Barkman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Please, sir, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Yes. My main concern that I've seen is the lack of information that we have received. I live on Willow Lane, very close to the Bradley construction and plan that is supposed to be going through. And no one in this neighborhood has been alerted to this meeting even. I have spoken with many people, and it took quite an effort to get anything here. Get any...
This is supposed to be for the 3.6 agenda item.
Oh, then I'm not sure why he called on me.
My apologies, sir. The clerk indicated that you wanted to speak. You were online to speak to this item. You're right. This is regarding 3.5 regarding 725 Notre Dame Drive. So you're welcome to stay on and speak to the next item. I'll ask the clerk if there's anyone else that is online that'd like to speak to this item. Melanie Uchhorn, would you like to speak to 3.5 regarding 725 Notre Dame Drive? Melanie, can you hear me? one last call out for Melanie. Okay, Nicole. Nicole, can you hear me?
Hi, I'm here to speak on the next agenda item, 3.6.
Okay. I see Melanie's hands up. So Melanie, if you'd like to speak to this item, which is 725 Notre Dame Drive, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes. Melanie, we saw your hand was up, and now your hand is not up anymore. I don't want to close this off without giving you a chance to speak if you'd like to. We'll just, we'll give you a few more seconds here, and then we have to move on, though. Okay, we're going to have to move on. I'll look for any speakers here in chambers. I don't see anyone else approaching the microphones. So I'll look for a motion to close PPM. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Stevenson. We will call the vote.
Sorry? Oh, okay. Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll put this item out on the floor for committee members. Or Councillor Hillier, please go ahead.
Yes. After listening to the public and seeing that the applicant is amenable to having a meeting to speak with the neighborhood, I would like to move a referral so that they can have a public participation meeting. And I would like to thank Councillor Van Meerbergen for actually giving me the information from the neighborhood and stating that Dance Extreme would like to host the PPM, and we would like to have the referral moved to September 9th.
Okay, just a second, please, Councillor. Councillor, the clerk would like some clarification on your motion. What you mean is that the applicant would host a meeting for the public to participate in. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the clerk is just drafting that right now.
Chair, I'll second that.
And Councillor Cuddy has indicated he will second.
If he could verify what's in East Gray.
Yeah, Councillor, can you just check on eScribe? We have it now up to make sure that that's good for you to second.
Perfect.
So the mover and seconder are comfortable with that language, clerk? All right, so we've got a motion to defer, moved and seconded. I'll look for questions or comments on that. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
The first question is a question we get, we ask staff all the time on this. Where are we on the 90-day statutory decision clock?
I'll go to staff.
The impact of moving this to September 9th.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if this application were to be deferred, it would have to come back December 1st.
I'll go to Deputy Mayor.
December 1st.
I'm sorry, what was that date?
It was December the 1st.
I'll go to staff again.
To clarify, if the application is referred back to staff to allow the applicant some additional time for some further discussion with the community, staff would be able to bring back a report to essentially recommend the same development, but if any changes are brought forward, we would have to reissue notice and recirculate the application, and the soonest we could do that would be December 1st.
Councillor, or Deputy Mayor, sorry.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is the community engagement by the developer can come back September 9th, but if there's any changes, then recirculation is required. December 1st would be the earliest that it could return to a planning committee. But in terms of our 90-day clock on this application as submitted, when do we fall out of, into OLT non-decision category?
I'll go staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, I've been able to run some numbers here, and if it were deferred to the September 9th, would take it to September 22nd council, which would put us at 104 days, which exceeds the 90-day timeline under the Planning Act.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, through you, Chair. I've been very consistent on not supporting referrals where we don't have something in writing on the agenda from the applicant stating that they would not exercise their non-decision appeal rights. So through you, would the applicant commit to submitting something for the council agenda from this meeting, so as an added, confirming that they would not exercise their non-decision appeal rights if this came forward on September the 9th?
I will go to the applicant.
Mr. Chair, we would be supportive of that, not exercising our appeal rights prior to September 22nd.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, so I will ask Mr. Novick to please put that in writing for the council agenda, because if it's not in writing at the council agenda, then I will not support the referral. I'm not super happy about a referral in the first place, and I heard a lot of things today. You know, traffic, we were talking about a 1.4% change. I heard reference to London Middlesex Community Housing. I'm on the London Middlesex Community Housing Board. Well, Lady Brook has been identified as a potential site for redevelopment. There is no project design, there is no funding in place, nothing is coming in the next 2 or 3 years, as was indicated by members of the public. That's actually misinformation. That project may come forward at some point, but until funding and design happen, and we have not even started construction on Southdale Phase 3, let alone completed Southdale Phase 2. So you are talking about many, many years down the road before LMCH is even looking at its next property for redevelopment. So I want to be really clear on that. There's no LMCH project coming in the next 2 or 3 years. That's just false. So I'm not, I appreciate the ward councillor would like a referral. I appreciate the applicant is willing to host a meeting. I appreciate you clarifying that it's not a PPM. It is a community information session that the developer would host. It's not hosted by council. So if I get that communication on the council agenda, then I will support the referral. I'll support the referral today just because the applicant has verbally indicated. But I've said this before to councillors many times. If there's a request for a deferral and there's not a legitimate planning reason, there needs to be a letter from the applicant stating that they're not going to exercise their non-appeal or their non-decision appeal rights. Because I don't want us to say, oh, we're going to refer, and then as soon as council passes the referral, have an OLT appeal filed. That is not a good use of anyone's resources. And so I just encourage everybody to get their ducks in a row before council to make sure that we can support this referral. I support the application as it stands. And when I hear about things like community amenities and things like that, Arthur Ford Park is 8 houses down from this property. St. Jude Catholic Elementary School is 2 houses down from this property. There is lots of green space. This is a private commercial property. It is not a public community center space. And the applicant does have absolutely the right to come in and request some rezoning, and that's what they've done. I would support this application today, but I'm willing to entertain a referral if, given the applicant has indicated they're prepared to do another community engagement before they come back to us.
Thank you. I'll look for other comments from committee members or visiting councilors. Councilor Van Meerbergen.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this area known as Norton Estates is well established. It's an older area, very family-oriented area. For a development like this to come into the middle of their neighborhood commercial center right in the parking lot is a shock. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. So therefore, there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of confusion, and I've been contacted as a result by many of the neighbors directly, and it struck me that as the ward councillor, it really begs to have further dialogue, further communication, and make sure that we're discussing the actual facts of what's happening here. And so I'm very pleased that Westell Homes has agreed to host a community communication meeting and discussion meeting to further get into the details of what's actually being proposed here. We should also keep in mind that this commercial plaza that exists there now, their largest tenant is a company known as Dance Extreme, well-known, been there for many years, have almost 700 students. So there's obviously some consternation and concern about, you know, the students coming when they start the class, leaving when they end the class, all that traffic moving around. How does this react with what's being proposed? So I think this is just positive on all sides. I want to thank the neighborhood, the neighbors for getting in touch with me. Again, Westell Homes, and this committee. And in particular, Councillor Hillier, Councillor Cuddy, for putting this motion of referral on the floor. So thank you again, and I completely support this.
Thank you. I'll look for other comments or questions from visiting councillors or committee members. Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, Chair. I wanted to add one other comment. And I say this respectfully, but at the same time, I think it's important. We had a speaker, and I didn't call a point of order. Maybe I should have, but we had a speaker in the gallery refer to themselves as a candidate in the ward in the election. And while I don't doubt that there was no ill intent meant by that, I do think it's important to underscore that when you're here, you're a member of the public. You're not a candidate, just as we're here as councillors, not as candidates. The council chambers is not a place to be campaigning and referring to one's social media page for their campaign and things like that. So I want to flag that now. I know 3 of our 4 committee chairs are here anyway, but I think we need to be mindful of that, and I think members of the public need to be mindful of that too. We're not here to talk about the campaign when we're in council chambers.
Thank you. I'll look for other comments or questions on the motion that's been moved and seconded. Seeing none, we will call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to 3.6, this is regarding 1047 to 1055 Dearness Drive. I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Stevenson. We will call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll look for the applicant. If the applicant would like to address us, I see you, sir. Please give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members, my name is Jersey Smolaric. I'm partner at Civic Planning and Design, and today I'm here representing our client CSM Developments, who are the owners of 1047, 1055 Dearness Drive, which is the subject property. First off, I wanted to thank Lauren Sully, who's a planner from our office, who's handling the file. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, so you have me instead. I wanted to give you a little bit of site history on this particular site. Some of you may remember this site had come forward with a zoning bylaw amendment application, which was approved back in 2021 to allow for a 6-story apartment building. Since that time, there's been a number of policy and regulation changes that have occurred, including the London Plan being in full force and effect since that time. There was more recently, there was a heights review that took a citywide approach, looking at increasing heights for properties in this type of situation. So neighborhoods place type along a civic boulevard or an urban thoroughfare, going up from 6 to 8 stories. And also the transit village place type, which went up to 35 stories. So those are some of the more significant changes that kind of have come into place since the time that that application was approved. If we look at the immediate context surrounding the site, so what's been approved and some of the planned context to the east, so the lands that are along Bradley Avenue, those are designated up to 8 stories and could come in for a rezoning application to go up to 8 stories. To the north of the site, all the properties along Dearness are actually designated to allow for up to 4 stories and could allow for stacked townhouses, as it's a neighborhood connector within a neighborhood place type. The properties to the west and the properties to the south are in a slightly different situation. Those are properties that are in the transit village place type, which have zoning already for 15 to 35 stories of height and could come in for a site plan application tomorrow. Understanding all of this context, we undertook an analysis to understand what could be appropriate for this particular site, acting as a transition between the single-family homes along Dearness to the north and the 35 stories approved to the south and to the west. What we landed upon was a 12-story building, and that is what's in front of you today in the proposal. It's a 12-story building with 210 units with 105 parking spaces, which is 0.5 parking spaces per unit. There may be a question as to why the 0.5. We had brought this forward and formulated the application while 0.5 was still the actual standard at the time, the regulation at the time. But also, we're looking at 0.5, considering the fact that directly to the west, the property immediately to the west, and the properties immediately to the south actually are parking exempt because they're in the transit village. So we do feel that because we are so close to a transit station, that should be something that is considered. Apologies. In terms of what's being proposed, we worked closely with staff to ensure that we didn't just present a 12-story building that was an L shape that went all the way up and kind of created negative impacts onto the neighbors. We have carefully crafted a zone that essentially allows for only the 12-story portion to be along the Bradley Avenue frontage, and it steps down along Dearness down to 6 stories and then ultimately to 4 stories. There's active frontages along both Bradley and Dearness that are being proposed with individual unit entrances and the main building entrance, as well as our access for vehicles has been located as far away from the intersection of Bradley and Dearness as possible on the north end of the site. Lastly, we'd like to thank staff, planning staff in particular, for their work on this application. We are in full agreement with the recommendation. Additionally, we'd like to thank the committee for their time and consideration of the application, and I'm here and ready to answer any questions as they arise. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll look for speakers to this item. Please, sir, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you. My name is Brian Lorch. I live at 1052 Dearness Drive. My wife and I have lived there for over 31 years. This new project that's supposed to be going up there, it certainly doesn't fit the neighborhood at all. I don't know why the need to go 12 stories, 6 stories. A few years ago, didn't go through. And we just feel it's a bad idea. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for next speaker on this item. I'll ask the clerk if there's anyone online. I think there was a few that want to speak to the previous item. Derek Barkman. Can you hear me, Derek?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Please go ahead. You have
my
5
name is-
minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Derek Barkman. I live on Willow Drive, which is rather close to that. And I'm mainly concerned about the schooling. We're adding 210 families into this dwelling, and yet the public school that's closest, Nicholas Wilson, already is using a portable classroom because there is not enough space. Where are all of these children supposed to be going? And with all of this traffic, I appreciate that we will be having a Bradley expansion, but you also have Southdale to the north. And Southdale, anytime that there is slightly elevated traffic, it is very hard to get onto that road. If we are adding another 210 families, that would be, even assuming 1 car per family, an extra 200 vehicles trying to get on at that intersection. It will make traffic a lot harder, a lot more difficult to get in, and a lot less safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll look online for the next speaker. Nicole B. If you can hear me, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Hi there, my name is Nicole Burke, and I'm the owner of and resident of 1039 Dearness Drive. I live in the residential property immediately neighboring this proposed development. Thank you to the committee and the chair for hearing my concerns today. I'm asking the committee to refuse the requested official plan and zoning bylaw amendments for this proposed building at 1047 and 1055 Dearness Drive. While I support the creation of additional housing in London and recognize the need for responsible intensification, my objection is not to housing. It is to placing a development of this height, density, and massing immediately beside an existing residential home and the established low-density Westminster neighborhood. Please keep in mind that the applicant mentions proposed buildings in another neighborhood, which is White Oaks, which is south of our neighborhood and was built to be a high-density neighborhood from inception. For me, this proposal is not an abstract planning exercise. I will live directly beside its parking area and four-story podium. My home, yard, privacy, and daily enjoyment of my property will experience the impacts of this development more directly than almost any other property. The applicant themselves acknowledges in their amendment that the shadow survey implications for my property. This neighborhood has already accepted substantial intensification when the previous 6-story development was proposed. More than 200 people in our small neighborhood signed a petition opposing it. Despite the significant opposition, council approved development on the property. The city's report confirms that the previous application proposed a 6-story 55-unit apartment building. Residents are now asked to accept double that height and nearly 4 times the number of units. I find it deeply disrespectful and offensive to the residents of this neighborhood that the concerns raised during the previous planning process appeared to carry so little weight only a few years later. More than 200 residents took the time to participate in the democratic planning process and sign a petition opposing even the 6-story development. Council nevertheless approved significant intensification of the property. To now consider doubling the height of 12 stories gives residents the understandable impression that their previous participation and concerns were effectively ignored. Public consultation should be meaningful. Residents should be able to participate in good faith and have some reasonable confidence that planning decisions represent more than a temporary starting point for progressively larger applications. The proposed 12-story height also exceeds what is currently identified by the London plan for the site. The city's report acknowledges that the proposed intensity is not contemplated in the London plan and requires a site-specific official plan amendment. An 8-story alternative would still provide substantial additional housing without granting the exceptional 12-story height being requested, while potentially leaving Bradley Ave available for an exit-only driveway for the proposed property, as is seen in other properties and high-traffic intersections in the city. The impact on my home will be direct and permanent. The proposed parking area and 4-story portion of the building would be immediately beside my residential property, creating concerns regarding noise, vehicle activity, headlights, overlooking, parking lot lighting, loss of privacy, shadowing, and the visual impact of a multi-story building beside a home. The city's own review recognizes these impacts. Staff recommends an all-season landscape buffer along the north property line specifically to mitigate potential impacts on adjacent single detached lots. Urban design also acknowledges that the development will cast shadows onto portions of adjacent properties and calls for measures to minimize shadowing and loss of privacy. Landscaping alone is not sufficient. If development proceeds on this site, I request that a substantial solid privacy fence be required along the shared residential property line. It should be specifically designed to provide both a visual screen and an effective sound barrier similar to the solid privacy and noise barrier fencing used throughout the city to separate commercial plazas and other intensive uses from neighboring residential homes. This should be provided in addition to a substantial all-season landscaped buffer. The scale of the requesting zoning changes is also significant. The proposal seeks approximately 515 units per hectare, where the report identifies 150 units per hectare as the standard, along with the rear yard setback of approximately 15 meters, where 40.3 would otherwise be required. These are substantial departures when the reduced setback directly affects existing residential properties. Parking is another concern. The development proposes 210 residential units, but only 105 vehicle parking spaces. Even if this satisfies the applicable parking ratio, it does not guarantee that additional parking demand will not spill onto surrounding residential streets,
30
which currently
seconds.
only offers 2-hour parking, by the way. I also ask Council to consider this proposal with London's broader housing strategy. I support additional housing, but Council has already approved substantial apartment and condominium development throughout London, particularly in areas specifically intended for high-density growth. Before granting exceptional increases in height and density immediately beside established homes, Council should also examine how effectively
Thank you.
existing and already approved housing stock is being utilized, including completed units that remain vacant or unoccupied.
Thank you very much.
I had more to say, but I'm not allowed
That's,
to
does
give
your
any more
time.
time.
Thank you. I'll go to the next speaker. Let's see here, online. Melanie? Melanie, can you hear me? Okay, let's go to the next person online. Do we have another person online? Melanie, last chance. Okay, that exhausts our online speakers. I'll just look, I don't see anyone approaching the microphone. So I'll look for a motion to close the PPM. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Stevenson. We will call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Councillor Hillier.
Yes, thank you for recognizing me. Colleagues, I'd like to do a little bit of a history lesson on here because I was the council of note, and now that I'm leaving council, I would like to make sure I go out with a little bit of a bang.
Councillor, Councillor, I'm just going to interrupt you a
sorry.
bit. The clerk has advised me that she'd like to see a motion on the floor first before you speak. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking to defeat the motion on the floor.
Well, there
To
is
defeat
no
the
motion.
application, yes.
There
Oh, I'm
is no
sorry.
motion. Hold on a second, Councillor.
I'm mishearing what's going on here.
Yeah, I understand, but we're going to get a motion on the floor, and then we can go to you.
these
So,
off. I'm turning off my earbuds, sorry.
we're going to get a motion on the floor, and then you can speak to that, okay? So, Deputy Mayor Lewis, did you have your hand up?
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Okay, I'll look for a seconder on that, Councillor Cuddy. So we have a motion moved and seconded to the staff recommendation. Councillor Hillier, I'll go back to you now. You can go ahead.
Thank you. I'm trying to get my earbuds turned off. They're driving me crazy. Are you there?
We're here. We can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Looking at the history of this, the reason we're being asked for a special amendment to the London plan is because the land isn't quite large enough for this. Because I remember this application when it came forth the last time. And yes, we had 200 people sign a petition. And one of the big issues concerning the neighborhood was the fact that we had very little parking. And I give the previous applicant all the credit. They came back with 73 parking spaces for 55 units, which worked out quite well. But now the neighborhood is being asked to take 210 units with 105 parking spaces. And my vision of what's going to happen in the surrounding streets is kind of frightening. It's going to turn into a parking lot, and the safety concerns for this as well. Now, when I'm looking at these units, we're looking at twice the height and 4.5 times the density. But if I look at the applicant's, where is it? The applicant's own thing, it says this project is located immediately adjacent to a transit village, but it is not in the transit village. This area should be up to 8 stories and no greater. So I'm asking colleagues to defeat this and send it back so that they can actually go with what the neighborhood was originally agreeing to and protect the neighborhood for the parking issue. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for another, next speaker. Committee members or visiting counselors. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. You know, similar to what I said on the Notre Dame application, a
Councilor
refusal.
Hillier, can you turn off your mic, please? Thank you.
A refusal has to be based on a planning matter. And I would have supported the Notre Dame application today because staff recommended it. And I did not hear any objections that were based on a planning matter. Staff are recommending this today with special provision because of its proximity to the rapid transit corridor is part of my understanding from the report. We also have to keep in mind, while we have changed parking provisions, this application was received under the old regulations. We cannot require higher than 0.5 spaces per unit on this application, given that was the regulation in place at the time that this was submitted and deemed a complete submission by our staff. So they have done their review. We do have other means of transportation coming online here with the Wellington Gateway being finished. Yes, the applicant will have to appropriately market the units to let residents know that they aren't going to have a parking space. But nonetheless, it meets the requirements. Staff have laid out their reasons why. I think that we could certainly put in a request, and I've moved it, so I'll see if somebody else wants to add it. Part C, under the site plan approval authority, there is a piece for the adequate all-season landscape buffers. I did hear a request for a privacy fence, and I think that that could be added to the site plan Part C. We could add a new Part 3 to request an appropriate privacy fence be constructed on the north boundary to ensure some additional privacy for the neighbors. But otherwise, this application meets the tests under the Planning Act and under the London Plan that staff have put it through. So I'm going to be supportive. I've moved the application, so I hope that maybe someone might want to add to the site plan, and I'll leave my comments at that.
Okay. Councilor Stevenson.
Thank you. I'm happy to move that amendment for the site planning and the privacy fence.
Okay, so I'll the clerk, please draft up an amendment.
Chair, do you need a seconder for that amendment?
Once we have this up on eScribe, we will, yes. Is that? Okay, it's up on eScribe. If you want to look at Councilor Cuddy, and then you can go ahead and second it.
Vote for. Vote for.
Item number 4, and we got the thumbs up, so Councillor Cuddy will second.
Councillor Stevenson's okay with the reading.
And Councillor Stevenson, you're moving the amendment? Okay, so we've got a motion or amendment moved and second. I'll look for conversation on the amendment. Seeing none, we will call the vote on the amendment.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
I'll go back to the original movers of the original motion to see if they're comfortable moving and then seconding. Councillor, Deputy Mayor Lewis is okay with moving the amended motion, and Councillor Cuddy, I believe, was the seconder. He's okay with moving the amended motion. Any conversation on the amended motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 3-2.
Okay, moving on to items for direction. We do have a request for a delegation, so I'll look for a motion to accept the delegate. Councillor Stevenson, I'll look for a seconder on that. Councillor Cuddy. So we will open that motion to approve the delegate.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll look for the delegate.
Christie's just online.
Might be online. I don't see anyone at the microphones. Oh, there we are. Christy, are you online? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm just trying to get my video to work here.
Okay.
Or maybe they have to let me, oh, there we go.
Oh, we see you and hear you,
Okay.
so please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Excellent, thank you. I'm here today just to summarize. Most of what I'm going to talk about is really contained in my letter, which is attached and been submitted, dated July 22nd. We represent the remaining tenants. I'm Christy Pagnello from Neighborhood Legal Services. I'm the director and a lawyer here. We represent the remaining tenants of 145 Baseline Road West. Has become a bit of a notorious case because with the approved renoviction, the tenants will be losing half of their square footage and all of that. Basically, we're at the point here where I come to you out of the concern that what we have here is that the developer landlord has reneged on their promise of alternate temporary housing while the renovations occur. You have my detailed submission, again, dated July 22nd, 2026. I give you the history of the case. I give our opinion on enforceability and all of that. But basically, this is a case where the developer landlord acknowledged and agreed to a commitment, which I understand the city is caught up with it not being enforceable under the Planning Act per se, but we've taken the position that it's enforceable otherwise. There's other ways to encourage good behavior and punish bad behavior. In this case, the landlord promised to council, who then approved and wanted as a condition of his site plan this commitment of temporary housing while the tenants were displaced during the course of the renovation. Recently, the developer has pulled that offer, basically taking the position that he's paid the compensation instead. The Residential Tenancies Act actually doesn't contemplate that one can be exchanged for the other, and notwithstanding all of that, he made this commitment to the city. And we're asking that be enforced some way, somehow. We feel that he's been encouraged in this behavior. He's gotten a second renovation license. And I know the city takes the position that they have to give it to him because he pays the fee and there's so little in it. We made pretty detailed submissions about how that bylaw could be beefed up so that it could be better used in these cases, but we weren't taken up on any of our suggestions. The review that was done of the repair and licensing bylaw really made very few changes. So we're left with a situation where we have these remaining tenants who were promised temporary accommodation, which, by the way, they'd be paying rent while they had it, while the renovations take place. We're down to the 3 units who have stood their ground. They're not yet evicted because we're still before the landlord and tenant board, but they will be evicted and they will need that temporary housing. And we're asking that the city look at ways that they can support these tenants by first of all encouraging and pushing the issue of having the landlord developer follow through on their commitment, or by assisting the tenants otherwise directly from the city. Again, I give way more detail in my letter, which I really would encourage you to read. That's filed with Councillor, with the city councillor's letter, which also has gone to you. And we support any kind of motion that can try to help these tenants in this situation and try to get the landlord to do good on his voluntary commitment to provide this in exchange for various approvals he got from the city. Those are all of my submissions, subject to any questions you have.
Thank you, Ms. Bagnell. We will go to committee for motions, comments. I know Councillor Frank is online, but the clerk would probably prefer some sort of action to be discussed. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
So I'm prepared to put Councillor Frank's motion on the floor for her. I'll let her introduce it, and then we can have our discussion from there.
Okay, so the clerk, we'll get the clerk to, is it available on, okay, the clerk has said it's available on eScribe. Excuse me, I see a seconder in Councillor Cuddy, so now we have it on the floor, so we can go to Councillor Frank.
Thank you, and I appreciate it, given I'm not a member of PEC. But I just wanted to come and discuss this as I was made aware that there are 3 remaining tenants that are facing evictions and not getting the promise and the commitment of being shuffled into the existing units. And so today I was hoping to ask for staff direction to look into the commitments that were made. I think that they influence the conversation about this redevelopment process. And to remind folks, the landlord developer submitted a letter and verbally agreed to shuffling tenants into available units within the complex as the redevelopment progressed. And unfortunately, as we've heard, we're hearing that there are 3 remaining tenants who are now being evicted and not being allowed to be shuffled, and the owner is not following through on the commitments that they represented at council. And I'm wondering, using the motion, that if we can figure out if there is a way for us to hold those commitments firmly. I understand from staff that site plan is not the method because the tenant matters are not considered developable and within site plan. But I do think that the commitments made about this development did influence the decision made at council. And so I'm wondering if there is some sort of process we can take. And it does also remind me that I'm very excited for the report back on the tenant relocation and assistant program that we directed staff to report back on in the early next year. I think that would address many of these issues. But in this specific case, we move forward with this application in good faith with the developer. So I'm asking colleagues to support the request to staff to get clarity to make sure that we're not leaving any stone unturned in making sure that these tenants remained housed as was committed. And additionally, I do have 2 questions to staff that I was hoping to ask if possible.
Yep, go ahead.
Great. One being, what kind of recourse would the city have if we are given false information from the applicant since they're not honoring their commitment as part of the project submission? So in the same way, for example, I know we have a list of businesses that we won't procure from because they violate contracts. I'm just wondering if we have something similar for developers if they don't meet verbal and written commitments.
I will go to staff on that question.
Also, sorry, if someone's speaking, I can't hear anything.
We're just waiting. Staff are
Oh, great.
conferring
Okay.
amongst themselves. They will get back to you when they give me the.
You look like you're listening, so.
Yeah.
Through the
Please
chair,
go ahead,
sorry
Mr.
that we're
Mathers.
just conferring with our legal folks here as well. So if the quest is to provide an answer to whether there is some type of legal recourse, then I would suggest that would be an in-camera conversation, and we do have legal support here to be able to answer some of those questions, but we can't provide advice on what we could undertake in this situation.
Counselor?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure if this committee wants to go in camera. I guess maybe a follow-up to that being, would we be able to get that kind of information from this report that I'm asking for that then could be provided in camera? So essentially having that report as part 3 of the motion?
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, absolutely. We would ensure that if there's information to be brought forward in public, that we would do that in a public report. And if there was anything that wasn't to be in public, then there would be a corresponding in-camera report.
Counselor?
Great. And then my subsequent question was in regards to enforceability, which I think might also be an in-camera legal item. So perhaps I won't push on that because, again, I don't know if this committee wants to go in camera. If they do, then please feel free for a member to make that motion. That said, again, I just want to reiterate that this is a report back from staff to make sure that we aren't missing anything in this process. I do believe that I want to make sure we're doing our due diligence to make sure that these 3 tenants don't become unhoused in this process, given the commitments made by the landlord. And it would be a report back making sure that we've evaluated all possible options. So appreciate committee's consideration of the motion.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go to committee now we've heard the councilor's comments and staff, so I'll go to the committee's chance to weigh in on their thoughts. Councilor Stevenson.
I guess through you, can staff give their comments to this?
I'll go to staff.
Through the chair, absolutely. If you'd like a little bit of background on this, I'm happy to be able to provide that. Is that fair?
Okay.
Happy to do that. So just as a refresher for everybody, so 145 Baseline Road West, it was subject to a 2024 zoning decision by council just to allow for more units on the site. So part of that direction that came back to staff was to consider a temporary rental accommodation arrangement with the owner of the property. And we did meet with the owner, and we did discuss this temporary arrangement, and at the time there was a voluntary confirmation that would be offered. And we also then, of course, worked with our legal team to understand whether we could actually apply that and include that as part of a site plan approval and put an actual requirement in our site plan approval agreements, and that was deemed that we aren't able to do that as part of this process. So the city doesn't have the authority to be able to, through a site plan approval process, to put a requirement for temporary accommodations. Of course, subsequently, as mentioned by Councillor Frank, there is direction to take a look at a different process that may allow for that, but at the time, that wasn't something that we were able to do through our planning process. So I will just also note, because there's been a bit of discussion about making decisions about planning matters, and I'll just put as a reminder to everyone that when you're looking at planning applications, we do really need to be focused on considerations under the Planning Act and the provincial policy statement and the official plan. Those are the bases for making sound decisions from a planning perspective. So I just want to ensure that that's clear for everyone as well. So if you have any other specific questions, we are here to be able to answer it. And I've got folks here from legal, from our planning development and our municipal housing development area as well.
Okay, Councillor? Okay. Other comments or questions? If the committee will permit me, just from the chair, there's some legalities involved here, and so what I'm looking for personally, I don't speak for the committee, is in the report, if we could be educated, I guess, as far as where the Ontario Landlord Tenant Act kind of would move into here. And also, you touched on, Mr. Mathers, you know, our restrictions when we're considering planning matters by provincial legislation. You know, how far can we go to either consider this or enforce it, et cetera? So there's a couple of nuances that I would hope to see in that report that would help us, you know, in future, not only with this particular thing, but in future other applications that come before us. I'll look for any other comments or questions from committee or visiting councilors. We have a motion moved and seconded. We will call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we do have additional business deferred matters, and that was from one of the items on the consent agenda. That was item 2.1. So we will discuss that. I'll put that on the floor now. I understand there might be a motion regarding that. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, we received a number of communications. They didn't all make the added agenda on this cycle, but we did receive them from London Development Institute, from London Home Builders Association, from 3 different developers who have projects actively on the go right now. And all were asking the same thing, and I'm prepared to do that, which is to refer this back to Civic Administration to align the Dollars to Door program's definition of affordable housing to the federal government CMHC definition of affordable housing. And I'd like to move that. I'm not putting a date on it. Whatever the time the staff requires to get that done and bring it back to us, that is fine, but I'd like to move that referral.
I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Stevenson seconds. Clerk?
Sorry, through the chair, do you have that wording in writing that you don't mind sending to me and I can get it loaded in eScribe?
I do have it somewhere in my folder, so if you give me just a second to get it, then I'll send it to you.
Okay, so we'll just pause here for a second while we get that up in eScribe.
Okay, that should be coming your way now, Clerk.
describe it if Deputy Mayor wants to take a look.
Okay, so it's up in eScribe. Please take a look and see if it's, okay.
I think that's fine, although we had the 990 in there. I don't think we need to include that because the rates change as stats. It's based more on the median renter income, so sorry, I should have struck that just because the number may change based on CMHC, so. And perhaps if we could just check, because I did not have time to, given we were receiving communications throughout the morning on this, if we could check with staff, that would be clear direction, any comments they want to have, of course, they can make too. But I would also ask if aligning with the federal program, if they would take that under advisement, that would include studio units and whether they could comment on that.
So I'll go to staff for comment on the direction.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. One of the things that we'd like to make sure that we include in this referral, no objection to the referral, we are working on our Build Canada Homes application right now, and one of the provisions they have in their requirements is an income-based test on measuring affordability as well. So I wouldn't want to lock it into just CMHC or BCH because we could be bringing forward or we will be bringing forward policy changes to how we assess the affordability benchmark based on what Build Canada Homes requires. We're also undertaking an economic analysis of the roadmap right now and looking to bring something forward to council early in the new year to talk about where we might be going with the roadmap overall. This is absolutely something we can support as far as using income as a measure to define affordability. It does make a lot of sense. AMR is a very specific benchmark, which was through some of the CMHC programs at the time when the roadmap was approved. So no issues with that. Just look for a little bit more general language in the recommendation or the referral so that we can base what we come back with based on what's going on at the time when we get those approvals.
Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, I see we need a seconder first, so perhaps we should get a seconder before we.
I guess Councillor Cuddy is second.
Sorry, Councillor Stevenson indicated she'd seconded and just
Councillor
it just didn't get into
Councillor
the
Stevenson.
system, so.
Yeah. I think we had that, yeah.
Again, without trying to delve too deeply into the weeds, and I know staff may not have that answer, but hearing that the Build Canada Homes program may have a different threshold, do we have any indication of when they might finalize thresholds? Because I would rather come back and amend this later to incorporate both than wait for them to come up with a number.
I'll go to staff.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. So at this point, we had the direction from council to go work with Build Canada Homes. I think it was May or June of this year. We've been working diligently with our partners in the development community and the nonprofit community as well. We have some meetings planned in the next couple of weeks with BCH to talk through our initial list of what we talked about back at those meetings at Community and Protective Services. So as far as the definition goes, I believe it's 30% median income as well is one of their measures. I do agree it would be nice to change it once. What's nice about the recommendation in front of you today is that it does have a sunset on it of March 31st of next year. So the risk to council and the city on a program at this point, it will close at a certain point. So we could enact it today as opposed to referring it back, enact it today, use it for the next little while, and then as we get some of that economic analysis, we confirm any funding from the federal government, then we can come back with policy changes that are more wholesomely considered and kind of wrapped up in a nice bow for council.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, so hearing that, I'm of the same mind. I would rather leave it as is today. And when we get the Build Canada Homes situation sorted out, then I am more than happy to even make time to sit down with staff and bring forward another motion to align with Build Canada Homes too, because we want to take advantage of both programs. But I do think that in the meantime, particularly given that we had 3 builders indicating their projects were in jeopardy, I'd like to get this fixed for the moment. We can use this in the interim and then move forward with the Build Canada Homes when the information gets finalized.
Okay, I'll look for other comments or questions. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, I appreciate that, because I don't want to wait either. I just want to ask through you to staff, when can we expect to see this come back? I know they said there's not going to be a timeline put on it, but I'd just like to know when we could expect to see it.
I'll go to staff.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. We'd have to think a little bit about that. I think September would be very fast for us to be able to turn it around. What I was thinking on the referral is that we would wrap it up into that other analysis that we're undertaking and that economic analysis. But if it needs to be back by September 28th, we can work very diligently with LDI and LHBA members to try and bring that back in time for council to hear before October.
Councillor.
Okay, thanks. I think that's the intention.
Other comments or questions? The committee will indulge me here just from the chair. I'm very happy that the deputy mayor and Councillor Stevenson brought this forward. Affordability it's a moving target even within here. Programs are announced for our federal counterparts and provincial counterparts. As much as we can, I think it helps to align with those. It gives clear direction to our developing community and what they're building. I think it helps us. I don't know if I'm under the illusion that we'll ever get complete, we'll nail it down, because I think both the province and the federal government are moving as we might. So that's why I'm glad to hear we do. We indicate that we might have to come back to this, but at least this is a start, and we can get things going with, with our own Dollars to Doors program, which I think was the intention to get things moving on the affordability issue. So I appreciate staff working with us on that as we try and nail this down. I'll look for any other comments or questions on this item. We have a motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we do have one confidential matter to discuss. So I will look for a motion to move in camera. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Deputy Mayor. We'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Recording stopped.
Okay, we're back in open session. I'll ask the Deputy Mayor to report out.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to report out the progress was made for the item for which we went into closed session.
Thank you. So I think that concludes the business of the 12th meeting of Planning and Environment Committee. I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Stevenson, seconded by Councillor Cuddy, and hand vote on that one.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Good job, Chair. We're done before 4 p.m. Thank you, staff, for the great reports, so we didn't have to spend too long on them.